Hello everyone, welcome to my tutorial on Java. Today's tutorial I am going to talk about Java exceptions. We are going to talk about what is an exception, why it happens, and how to handle it. In understand to that, we are going to write a short program like this. We are going to have two variables, int I equals 6, int j equals 2, and then we are going to get the result of a division, which is going to be I by j, and then we are going to print it out. So you can see this is a very simple, just 4 statement method, and the execution operates like this. It's going from top to down, and then when it comes at the result, it's going to do the division, which is 6 by 2, and we are going to get the result 3 here. But let's say in a situation where the user is given the chance to input these two variables from the command line, and the user is putting 0 over here. So in that case, for int result equals I by j, we are going to get what? 6 by 0. And we know that 6 by 0 is not a number. So in that case, what happens? The runtime system doesn't know what to print. So that becomes an exception. So that means an exception, we can say, not a desirable output, or the runtime doesn't know what to do. I mean, there is no instruction within the runtime system. So that becomes an exception. So whenever that exception happens, this line will not be printed. This will come at this line. The operation will come at the third line or third statement, and then it will exit the program. So that means we now know what the exception is and the way that we are going to handle it. So let's say an undesirable situation is coming and we are going to handle it. So that procedure is called the handling. Okay, so that means that whenever there is an exception, we are going to handle it, and that is what the exception handler in Java. So in the Java, you can see that I talked about this is the runtime system. That means the result is coming during the runtime system. We are dividing I by j. There can be some situations where the exception can happen before the runtime system, and we know that the before the runtime system is called the compiling system, compile time system. So now we are coming at the point of understanding the different type of exceptions. And in order to understand that, we need to understand the exception hierarchy. So let's make this. So first we have the object, and then we have the throwable class. That means the throwable extends to object, and then we have two here. One is the exception class and the other one is the error class. And then the exception class is going to have runtime exception, and there are some other exceptions. Now this runtime exception is our exception that happens during the runtime. That means the division by 0 is a runtime exception. But during the compile time exception, there are some thing can happen. Let's say you are trying to trying to open a file. Okay, this trying to open a file is an example of a compile time exception, and we call that the checked exception. Checked. So actually, in exception, Java has two types of exceptions. One is the checked exception and the other one is the unchecked exceptions. And runtime exception and error are part of the unchecked exceptions. But we are more concerned about how to handle these two, runtime exception and checked exception. So in the next tutorial, I'm going to talk about the handling of exceptions. Thank you.